Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Thursday. That's right. We're doing back-to-back episodes tonight. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast for innovators and creators connect. What I need you to do right now is like, comment, share. We've got family in the building, family from D9, family because it's tennis, all the things. We're going to cover all the things. But before you do that, what I need you to do right now is go over to Facebook and follow us on Facebook at the Speaker Podcast. We're also on YouTube at Camille Essick, also Instagram Camille.Essick. And I would love to hear from you. Shoot me an email at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. And y'all, if you haven't heard, I've launched my website. It's out and available, CamilleEssick.com. Be sure to subscribe there and stay in the loop. We have a lot of amazing things coming on. But it's enough about me. My brother is here. I'm so excited. We're representing the state, the home state. Tennessee is here.
Yes,
901 is in the building. 615 is in the
901.
building. D9 is
901.
in the building. Kappa
Yes,
Alpha Psi, Indiana shoulders,
the
all the
great.
shoulders,
I
all the
got
things.
old, so let get the big
All
gays in the
right.
back. Yes.
All the things. My brother and friend here, Dr. SHAWN Boyd. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm super, super glad to be with you and just in this space. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Yes, and those that are not familiar with you on a professional standpoint, tell the listeners or viewers just a little more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So as you kind of alluded to up front, born and raised in Memphis. I feel like I want to say Maine.
Come
In there.
on, look, we say that over here.
Maine. I do that. Yes, yes. But yeah, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. All things I like to kind of, I think folks refer to me as the education, the college guy.
Yes.
And so yes, been working in the post-secondary space for 2 decades, believe it or not. I just hit my 20th anniversary, working at, various colleges throughout my career. I've done some policy work, and I know we'll talk about this later, but I took that big jump this year, so I just actually launched my own consultancy business, Dr. SHAWN Boyd Educational Solutions LLC. And so super excited again just about education and what it brings to so many students, and just change the outcomes for a lot of students that we know. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, just a little background. I met Sean undergrad. We've been
Yeah.
cool since '97. We aging ourselves on
Yes.
the yard of Middle Tennessee State University.
Yep. Yep.
Like, been in each other's probates. Like, we go way, way
Way
back.
back. Yes.
So,
Yes.
a little bit as far as your background in education, because we're on campus. We're all over the yard,
Yeah.
but we never asked each other like, why are you majoring in this major? So what inspired you to go into the field of education?
Well, so yeah, let me take you back a little bit. I think it's very important for folks to know, I think again, when people see me now, they're like, oh, he's the college guy, he had it all figured out. That was not the case. Number one, I'm a first generation college student. And so of course I went to, high school and kind of had the idea of college, but didn't really have the resources or guidance to get there. And just Camille, I had a great high school teacher, Miss Hardaway. I never, my algebra 2 teacher who really helped push me to MTSU door, literally. I
Mm,
never forget MTSU came and did a college tour, a visit at Overton High School in Memphis. And she actually took me down to the guidance office because I didn't think I had it in me to go to college. Number one, super low ACT score. I had a teacher in my 10th grade year that was like, college ain't for you. Your grades not
mm,
enough, right? And so that kind of stayed in my mind until the 12th grade year with Miss Hardaway. So long story short, got to the college door, and I fell in love with college. I was like, this is new. Of course, I struggled at the beginning, but as you know, we had Mr. McPhee. We had so many different supports on campus that
mhm.
when I wanted to go home, they're like, "Nah, bro, what you need, you staying here. We're gonna get you to that graduation stage." So I wanted to be that person for other students who were like me, right? That men of color, first generation college student, maybe even low income, that say, hey, you can do, I did it, you can do it too.
That's good. And even with you reflecting on Miss Hardaway, the
Hmm.
importance of our educators to have
Yeah.
the eye and the heart and be able to discern this child has potential, even though the
Mhm.
grades may not be, they didn't come from a certain zip code. And
Right.
to even speak on the other teacher that said, oh, that's not for you.
Hmm.
That's not really what you should say to a child, because what if you had to listen to that and just stayed in Memphis, and we know Memphis is what it is. You know,
Yep.
you could have been another statistic, but thank God for Miss Hardaway that she was able
So
to learn
true.
and see, you know, like, no, this child just needs a little support, a little love. So can you kind of touch on how important it is for teachers to have that discernment and to see, no, this child just needs a little push, just a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah. Teachers are everything. I know we are celebrating teachers across the country with teacher appreciation weeks in most places. But as I mentioned, if it was not for their teacher in my book, and I know we probably talk about that a little later, I dedicated the book to Miss Hardaway,
Wow.
because like you just said, Camille, like, for the longest, me hearing that I couldn't be something or do something, it stuck in my head. So I just didn't even think about college. But my 12th grade year, this switch, and I think she just saw, again, a young black boy. I grew up in one of the poorest zip codes in Memphis, 38114 South Memphis.
Mhm.
And I think she just saw the potential. And, even to this day, she actually passed away last year, Camille.
Oh,
So I say her name to really honor
yes.
her in this space. But I always wonder, like, why me? Why did you take so much time to get me to MTSU? And number one, not two, she helped me even get through. It was times I would call back broke, and you remember back. I feel like
Yes.
college students now are not broke like we were.
They're not. They're in school coming out with brands and
Exactly,
I'm like, we
exactly.
were like when ramen is trending now, but
Right.
ramen was a
That's
struggle meal.
that's what we had to do.
It
Yeah.
was a struggle
So
meal.
again, I always, sometimes wonder, like, what did she see in me? But
Yes,
again, just like you said, Camille, teachers are so important in this educational journey, and really seeing teachers who look like you
yes,
is even more important. So yes, hats off
yes.
to Miss Way.
And I really want to get into that as far as just even in high school, but the importance of representation in the higher academia. Because when I got to MTSU, you remember Dr. Bakari? He was
Yeah.
my first black male teacher, like
Hmm.
professor ever. I had never
Yeah.
had a black male teacher in the classroom setting until I got to MTSU with Dr. Bakari.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same here, I think, especially at, when we look at PWIs and sometimes the difference with HBCUs, you're
Mhm.
kind of just surrounded by that at HBCUs, right? PWIs, like, I'm like you, I only had one, black male professor during my entire journey. And of course we had Dr. McPhee, who was over I think it was called then multicultural affairs. The name has
Multicultural
changed so
affairs,
much
and then he
now.
became the president,
Yeah,
but then we
yeah.
had, Mr. Metcalf, Miss
Metcalf.
Murray.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah,
Mr. Metcalf.
Mr. Ralph Metcalf and Miss Murray, and we
Yeah,
were like kinda
yes.
like their kids a little bit. We stayed in their
Mhm.
office all the time. He got me vouchers
Yeah,
for
yeah.
school for
If
books,
there was,
you know?
free food somewhere, they're gonna let you know, or they were
Yes,
hosting something, or you got a meal card. And so again, to answer your question, I think, I always say with students, even now, my kids are I have now a high schooler, believe it or not. He's going to the 10th
what?
grade, and my daughter's going to the middle school, sixth
Wow,
grade next year. And it's
okay.
just so important to see themselves in teachers. And it really, to me, it helps just kind of push. But also sometimes, when we have teachers of color, we sometimes need to be pulled to the next phase. So it's so important. And anytime I enter a space, especially with me being in education, I'm so aware of that. Like, I'm in the space and I have so many people on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I can just see students, like, their eyes light up, right? When they like, oh, Dr. Boyd walk in, he's a brother, young brother. I want to, like, sit up taller. And so I'm always aware of that. Yep.
That's awesome. And even with the whole PWI HBCU
Hmm.
situation, because I tell people, yes, I went to PWI, but I
Yeah.
really feel like MTSU was different. Like we had an
Was.
HBCU experience within the
Yeah.
PWI because I think we were so close knit as far as the African American, the black students on campus. We really looked out for each other. We took care
So
of each
true.
other, you know, even on the weekends or during the week, like if you
Yeah.
had a crock pot and I had a microwave, we would hook it up, you know, with
So true.
Willie and we would all take care of each other. And it was like we were
Yeah.
like a little
Yeah.
family on this
Right.
campus. And
So true.
sometimes I felt like we were in a bubble, like we went to class with other people,
Mhm.
but as
Mhm.
far as our interaction was very
Mhm.
within ourselves and even the HBCU culture,
Mhm.
being around Fisk and Meharry and TSU right down the road,
Yeah.
so we
Right.
still kind of got that experience going to their homecomings and things
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
And then with the D9, the chapters, all over Middle Tennessee, we all
Yeah.
interacted. So I mean, again, even though we were at a PWI, we still had to me, it still felt like an HBCU experience
So
to a
true,
degree.
so true. I couldn't
Yes,
agree more. I'm like you. I tell people, I was like, I think MTSU was just different.
it was different.
But again, like you said, we talk about the tree and going under the tree, and
The
I
tree,
won't say
shout
the
out to
word
the
of the tree, right? But in
no,
the
we don't
GC,
call it what it was, but we just label it as the tree, the
right, the
ethnic
tree,
oak.
right? Yeah, yeah. So those are the things that really connected us as a
Yes,
family, and to this day, I go to homecomings. I think I've only missed in maybe 20 years, maybe 4 or 5. Like this, I just
yeah,
always
I've
go
missed
in.
quite a few just
Yeah,
because I was in the Navy,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and
As they
people
said,
like
life be lifing.
that.
Literally.
People like, when are
Yeah.
you coming? I'm like, one day I will, but it's
Right,
just,
right. Well,
so.
hopefully you can make it this year, Camille. We both will be there.
But it's like it's crazy now. This is kind of a sidebar.
Yeah.
Going, it feels more like a family reunion because everybody has kids.
Is
And like bounce house and stuff. And I'm
but
like, nigga, who's
but
that's Auntie Cam. Like, come on with this auntie mess. I'm not ready.
like I leave my kids at home, but so you want to see?
Yes. So
Yeah,
one of the things I want to discuss with you,
yeah,
Dr. Boyd, is the impact and necessity of the D9 and diversity organizations on PWI, because we have this
yeah.
movement against the woke and trying to
Uh-huh.
erase us off of campuses. So
Right.
can we really unpack how important it is to have the D9 organizations on PWI campuses and universities for colleges and
Yeah.
universities?
Yeah, yeah. So again, D9, as we think about our NPHC organization, organizations of color, for the most part, again, I think it's so important. My dissertation focused in on, students of color in their engagement in college. And so when I think about engagement, number one comes to mind for students of color is, joining a D9 or NPHC organization.
Hmm.
And as we know, Camille, you know, I think sometimes on the outside, people are like, oh, they just wear our letters, we party. But again, it's so much like, I
It's
feel like
work.
my organization, Ada Gamma, shout out Middle Tennessee State University, prepared me for life.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Camille, you had to run, be able to run a meeting. You had
Yes.
to talk
Minutes.
to
Yes.
faculty, take minutes. You had to talk to faculty, staff. You had to plan entire weeks, being 18, 19, all the logistics that went into it. And so when I got to like a real job, things that people were just doing, I'm like, I know how to do this. Like I know how to
Right.
work with other organizations, and even organizations that were not of color, our IFC brothers or PAN brothers
Yes,
or
we did.
sisters.
Had to be at those meetings as
Yeah, I had to
well
be
in
at
the
those
reports.
meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, and I ended up being the NPAC president, which was
You did?
was
I
a whole
remember.
nother level because you're dealing with all
Everybody.
nine.
Yes.
You're right. Yeah, everybody has their thing, and so again, to answer your question, I think it's so important. And you have to, as we know, I always tell students, find your fit. I come from a family. My dad is a Kappa. I have 4 uncles that are Kappa, so I didn't have that option, right? So I had to, but I always tell folks, of course, do your research,
Mhm.
definitely, go to events and do what you feel that feels natural to you, because
Yes,
that's what it should feel like. Because guess what? As we know, Camille, you got your letters on today. It's a lifelong
it
organization.
is. And I was a
Yeah.
rebel, because my grandmother, all her nieces were AKAs.
Okay. So you like, look, I'm
So
doing
when I
something
came
different.
home, they were like, "Excuse me."
You be like, y'all still love me though, right?
They do, but they was like, I'm like, "Y'all didn't talk to me, so
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't grab me up when I was little."
So
But
true. So true. Yes.
but I think it's important to just also as far as advocacy, right? We
Yeah.
see a lot of things happening on campuses,
So true.
with I hate to use the word discrimination, but that's flat
Yeah.
out what it
Yeah.
is. And
Hmm.
so with students, like with my sorority, we were founded because, the ladies, they were experiencing things on the campuses of Butler, dealing
Hmm.
with the Klan and the campuses being raided and being a safe
Hmm.
haven for Black women to go. But we
Hmm.
look at now with the political left and right,
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
students to have a safe haven and a place to belong, also
Right.
have a voice, and also you have the backing of international organizations.
Hmm.
All of our members are prominent members. They're
Yeah.
judges and lawyers and vice presidents of the United States. Like, and
Hmm.
so it's so important to have those connections, and not just within your organization, but even someone outside your organization. I can't tell you how many times, even being active duty in the military when I was in the Navy, I still have my plates on my car. it was another level of connection when I met
True.
another service member and they were Greek.
So true.
And
Yeah.
and that bond and
Yeah.
knowing that, hey, I see you. If you need something, let me know. I'll look out.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that's very important. And so I
So
think
true.
for students and our incoming students to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
how important it is and that you can make an impact. And like you said, give you life skills because
Mhm.
this might sound crazy. And I
Yeah.
know people process differently, but me processing the way I did in the 90s got me
Mhm.
through boot camp in the Navy
Yeah. So true.
because
Yeah.
I was very nervous about joining. You know, I'm a
Mhm.
church girl, joining the military and
Right.
military boot camp. You don't know, your mind, you have anxiety. And
Mhm.
at the time, one of my good friends, he's an alpha. He was like, "Remember when we were online?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "What?
Yeah.
We were processing." Let me
Right.
fix that. We're processing, and I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "It's just like that." So he was like, "If
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
make your process, then you can make." And when I got there and I saw what's going on, I was like, psh. And there were other people, they were crying and stuff. And I'm sitting over here like, this is
Really.
not,
Right.
if you
Right.
can make it through your process, you can do the
And
Navy boot camp. Like
so
that's
true.
literally,
Yeah.
and even when days got hard, I found myself reciting poems that we were taught.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
was helpful. So yes, I agree. This definitely, it gives you life
Yeah.
skills. So that's very
So true.
important.
So true. Yes.
And then also too, you were talking about Mrs. Hardaway getting you through campus,
Yeah.
through the graduation program, or
Yeah.
just graduating. And we've heard statistically as far as the difference between Black men graduating versus Black
Mhm.
women. And I
Mhm.
kind of want to touch on this, Dr. Boyd, as far as the importance, with MTSU and RIP to Darrell Freeman. He was really trying to
Yeah.
institute a program to help
Mhm.
more Black men get through and graduate on campus.
Yeah.
So can you
Mhm.
unpack how much of a necessity this program is, and what can other Black men and educators do to increase those graduation rates?
Yes, again, like you said, Darrell Freeman. I mean, it's just yeah, hats off to him, and continue to rest in peace. I was fortunate enough; I did not know him when I was at MTSU, but in my previous job prior to now, I did policy work for the state of Tennessee in post secondary. So he was one of those,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, figureheads that like was at every meeting and fighting with the governor, whatever the case may be. Just
Right.
how again, really getting the word out that hey, Black men deserve to be educated as well. And so, again, with his legacy, there's so many different initiatives that are going on across the state. I do want to pause and say that it's, we're at a time where it's super, I like to say we have to ring the bell. It's alarming. If you look at the data just in Tennessee, and really not only in Tennessee, I mean, across the country, when we look at Black men going to college and graduating, it's 20 points below their white male counterpart. This is the
Wow.
lowest that it has ever been in Tennessee for Black men. So, we kind of say it, sometimes lightly, like, oh, Black men are not going to college, but they're really not going to college. And so,
Why?
yeah, so we have to, going back, I think, to number one, to high school, and I talk
Yeah.
about the advising piece and having the conversations early in them seeing college. I was the prime example. I didn't really see it for myself, but it took, role models like Darrell Freeman, the Dr. McPhee, and just, I even try to be that guy that so many Black men,
Mhm.
number one, to have the conversation, but importantly, outside of just the conversation of college, now college, Camille, looks so different than when we went back 20 years ago
Yeah.
almost. Yeah. So it's back then it was like you go to a 4 year or you go to a community college and you're good. Now you have so many different options from 4 year, 2 year technical schools. You have certifications, you have certificates. And so I think sometimes a lot of times we just don't know what's out there. So
Mhm.
the knowledge is not there. So you only think you got two options. That's a 4 year or 2 year. That's great. It's for
Or
a
the
lot.
military was
Or the
like their
military, yes.
yeah.
So again, just knowing the options, I think, is number one. But I think when you get Black men on your college campus, it's not just enough to say I enroll you, but what do you have to keep me there to graduation, right? So it's like inviting somebody in your home and they get in the house and they don't really feel comfortable, they gonna leave, right? So it's the same with Black
Right.
men. So we got to do more than just recruit them. What are we doing to support them through graduation? Yeah.
That's good, and also, like you said, seeing other people that look like them on the
Yeah.
campuses. I think also now with this culture and this generation, we see so many, particularly our Black boys, being pushed into sports or be a
Yeah,
rapper
yeah.
or social media to where
Mhm,
they feel like, well, I don't need college anymore because I can
mhm.
be a influencer or play sports
Yeah,
and brand
yeah.
that way. But I still believe that we still need our brothers in places like the classroom.
So true.
Statistically, less than all attorneys, less than 2% are Black.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
we need
Mhm.
us in STEM. We need us in medicine. We need
Yeah,
yourselves
yeah,
in law. So I think it's great that you brought that out and how important it
yeah.
is to still push our brothers in those educational spaces. And I think also little boys and little girls respond differently when they see
Mhm.
Black men in the classroom because so
So
many
true.
of our little kids in our neighborhoods don't have a father in their home,
Mhm,
or they're co-parenting. We hear that term now, but
mhm.
to have another male figure, Black male figure in their life that is positive and can reinforce those things, I think that is key as well.
Right. And just to add a little bit to that,
Yeah,
again, we as Black men have to go to where they are. I think so many times we wait on them to come to us. But as you just said, we have to go to the community centers. We have to go to the basketball games, right? I'm actually working with a nonprofit, an actual retired NFL player. I won't say his name. The contract is not all the way signed yet,
do
but
it,
I want to say that because he recognizes the power of education. And so
yes.
retired, he has a nonprofit. So he's like, hey, I want to bring a Dr. Boyd in early to my ninth graders. And I've been able to write a whole curriculum, for that particular program, my book, the workshops. And just think in their ninth grade year, they're getting exposed, like you said early, by a Black male. By the time they get to 12th grade, they have a clear vision or pathway of where they want to go. So starting early, go to where they are. Don't wait on them. Go out and get them and bring them to where we need them to be. So
Is
key.
is
Yeah.
the football player in Tennessee?
He is. Yes.
Like, I wonder if it's my cousin because he's retired last year. He's from Maryland.
Oh, wow. We'll talk offline.
He is. Well, like, look at me being nosy. So, oh, and shout out to Jay Barnett. He just joined our fraternity. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Shout
Dr.
out to him. And
Dr. Jay
again, just
Barnett.
them seeing and just bringing so much more attention to their space is so key.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, you have an amazing book out talking about making the most of your college
Yeah.
experience. And I really want to dive into that because I think that's a great segue into what you're doing now as
Yeah.
far as with your brand Persist, starting your own nonprofit. So let's kind of break that down as far
Yeah.
as tell us more about your book, your brand, and really the inspiration behind it.
Yeah. So again, God just continues to blow my mind. So I put out a book called How to Play the Game of College. And Camille, just based on our conversation earlier, I wanted to create a resource for students across the world. Book travels everywhere, right? And so what better way to get the word out than in a book, right? And so I put the book out. Number one, it was my why. Like, the story I'm telling you, I didn't see myself in college, but you had somebody who didn't see themselves going to college to going up to a terminal degree, first in his family, right, to go to college. And so I want to share that journey with others because I feel like if they hear it, they're like, oh, Dr. Boyd did it. I could do it too,
Mhm.
right? And so this book just kind of came out of like hard work for me wanting to get the word out there. And so put the book out. It's been a year, actually a year 2 weeks ago, believe it or not. So I just celebrated the 1 year anniversary. And Camille, it took off. Yeah, you put something out and it was straight hard, HEART work. And school districts got behind it and purchased books for students.
That's
Something
awesome.
that surprised me, more colleges were calling like, hey, Dr. Boyd, we need the book for our incoming freshman students. Can you come and talk to them? And so I think it was kind of like a key for me. Like I had been kind of doing workshops and student development for years,
Mhm.
but I'm like, hey, I'm gonna bet on myself. I'm gonna put fear to the side, right? And that's what launched my consultancy, Dr. Shawn Boyd Educational Solutions LLC.
That's
So since I
amazing.
launched that, it's been, the rest has been history. I've been able to travel the country, really trying to motivate and move students to and through college. Yes.
That's amazing. It's like when we took University 101.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Exactly.
cool. So I
Yeah.
love hearing about that, and even now, as far as persist, like, of all the adjectives and verbs that you could have
Yeah.
used, like, why persist?
Yeah, so Persist is actually a board that I'm on. It's a nonprofit, actually in Nashville. shout out to Persist. And so I compliment a lot of their work. Persist again is, hey, you get to college, we want you to persist from semester to semester. Because even, we kind of look at college in a big sense of like, hey, you get through your first year and you need to graduate in 4 years, right? And that's not the story for everybody. I know even back then in MTSU 20 years ago, some people took 6 years,
It
some
was
people took
really like a
7.
5-year school because
Yeah,
they made
yeah,
us take
because it's, I
so many
mean,
classes.
yeah, because you got 132 hours. It's a lot, right?
Crazy.
To try to get in that little amount of time. And then now, as we say, more students are working. And so you got work, you got school, you got life. Some students have kids. So the goal is to, no matter what you're doing, is to persist forward, right? So you might fall down one day, you may make a F, you might say, hey, I didn't do this great this semester, but keep getting back up and persisting to the next level. And so again, I feel like that's what college is about and why I do my work to really support students. That's my why. Yeah.
That's really good. One of the things I really remember about school in general, it
Yeah.
wasn't even so much as the work. They say that 85% of what you learned was outside of the classroom,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
actual curriculum was really 15%. And at the time, I didn't get it, but looking back on it, it's very
Hmm.
true.
So
Just because
true.
of life skills, organizational skills, interpersonal skills, I learned
Right.
a lot of those things from going to college. And I know a lot of students now don't want to live on campus. They want to grow up faster and live off campus, to have an
Hmm.
apartment, but I really feel like a lot of those lifetime friends and the communities that you curate, that happen living on campus, being in the dorm, and
Right.
it
Right.
carries on through life because even though we've all kind of scattered a little bit and
Hmm.
you meet other people, it's something about the people that you make friends with and connect
So
with during those
true.
undergrad years.
So true. And again, I think, I always laugh. I was like, why were we in a hurry to grow up?
Like right now, I'm like,
Like
put me back, please.
it could be if I could go back to Richardson Towers was my first dorm. If
Yes.
I could go and eat in the cafeteria, like we had it made. And
It
but
was so easy. The
that
computer
like we talked
lab at
about.
12 o'clock, like define
Exactly,
papers.
exactly. Yeah,
I'll
you
do it.
party during the week, whatever. You can't do all that anymore. Like you
On
got life,
Thursday, the
right? You got to be
JUB.
grown up. Right. Exactly. So yeah, a word of advice: slow it down, young people. Like you're gonna be working a long time, and we
The
were
whole
just talking
life.
to Mia before we got on here. Like I gotta cut the yard. Camille, you had to put the desk together. Like that's adulting,
It's
right? But
ghetto.
it's
Adulting is ghetto.
take me back. Take me back.
Take
Yes.
me
Yes.
back.
So
Yes,
true.
I absolutely agree. So this has been a
Yeah.
really good conversation. And just before we wrap things up, Dr. Boyd, one of the things I do want to touch on, and this is something that I feel like is so important,
Yeah.
the importance of advocating for increased
Mhm.
educator pay. Like it's
Mhm.
not discussed as much, and just how important I feel like educators, whether if it's kindergarten,
Yeah.
university, high school,
Mhm. Mhm.
educators should deserve more pay, and also protecting our educators in classroom settings.
Yeah, so true, so true. Again, teachers are the foundation. I feel like for any career. I don't care if you go to the NBA on down to, like you said, a lawyer or whatever the case may be. And so, we have to really value our teachers. I will say, shout out to Memphis Shelby County Schools here in Memphis. They just did a bonus, a teacher pay raise, and a
Mhm.
bonus for our teachers for the new year. And so, some people are like, oh, it's still not enough. But I think again, if we can start the conversation and start somewhere, right? That's so important. So just again, I think I'm like you, Camille. I feel like teachers should be paid what NBA players are paid because they
Yeah,
do so much for individuals and just the community as a whole. If we didn't have teachers, I wouldn't be here today. I
I
would not
wouldn't
be
be
here
here
today.
today.
Yes. So we have
Mm-mm.
to really advocate and really support and really do all that we can to make sure teachers have the resources available to really support our students. It's so very important. Yeah.
Definitely. And I want to shout out all of my educators I've had throughout my
Yeah.
years, whether if it was at Queen's University,
Mhm.
shout out to
Mhm.
Dr. Burns and Dr.
Yeah.
White and Dr.
Yeah.
Legault, getting through my master's program. Even the
Mhm.
advisors, like they don't get enough shine, like Chiquita
Yeah.
Carr,
Yeah. Right.
but even in high school was it was rough for me because I was an
Mhm.
introvert.
Mhm.
I was a new school. It was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my what's his name, Coach Neil Durbin, I had him
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
geography, amazing educator. And then
Wow.
I really found hard with I had him for economics and American history,
Mhm.
Devon Arrington, and we found each other on Facebook last year or so ago, and he was
Wow.
literally one of my probably my top tier, my favorite teacher of all time.
Man.
And just he had a way of really pulling your desire and thirst to learn out. He brought so much energy to the classroom.
So
And
important.
he came to class sharp every day. Like he was clean every day. And
Right.
just the way he would, like, Miss Essex, Miss, he always addressed us as Miss and Mister.
Yeah.
And before every test, he would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Let's make A's. Let's make A's." And that would just thrill me, just the way he was so dramatic
so
with it.
important.
Let's make A's. And it just was like, ooh. And so
just with confidence up. Yeah.
Yes, he really did build,
Yeah.
I was very introverted. He really, built my confidence in the space
Yeah.
of education. And it was through him that I realized I'm smart enough. I can get a scholarship. And so I always had good grades, but with him and other teachers that pushed me, I ended up getting a scholarship, and that's how I ended up at MTSU.
Wow, I did not know that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing, and we honor him in his space. I think it's so
Yes, so
important
we
to just call
dedicate
out
this to
his
Mr. Arrington and
Yes, and Miss
the late
Hardaway.
Mrs. Haywood. We dedicate
Yep.
this episode to them. So thank you.
Yes. So
And
important.
it is. And do you have any nuggets, gems, or takeaways as we begin to wrap up this conversation, and then where people can contact you on social media and get your book?
Yes. So I guess when we think about takeaways, just again, if I'm, if this is going out to parents and students or anybody who's just looking to go to college. And again, college is, I like to say now post-secondary credential, however that looks for you, right? Again, put fear to the side, right? You see, I love Camille. I didn't even know half of your story with getting to college, but I see number one, both of us sharing the journey of great teachers that really helped us to get there, right? And number two, again, we didn't have it all figured out when we got to MTSU, but I think, trials, mistakes, we fell down a lot. We just kept getting back up. We kept
Donnie McClurkin.
Exactly. Exactly. We had to bust out in the song in a minute. But no, it's so true. So again, I say to any young person, put the fear to the side, just go for it, try it. Again, college is not going to fix every problem. It's not going to guarantee you a job, to be honest. However, the tools that we talked about, the networking, the life skills, and all the things that we talked about today in this conversation, you can't put a price tag on that, right? And so just go for, be great. As for me, you can definitely check out my website. It's www.drshawnboyd.com, and it's drshawnboyd.com. I see my IG is on there. And again, I put great content. Everything is usually about college. I have a YouTube channel. I'm trying to be like Camille. I'm not at the level yet. But I do have a podcast. You can go on there and splurge during the summer, and I interview folks. And Camille, I got to have you on my podcast next.
Let me know.
And for the book, it's available through my website, or you can also go on Amazon and purchase that. Prime, it ships to you for free. Yes, thank you for having me. This has been great. Seriously.
You're welcome. And also, too, I think my perspective is different because going through college and then going to the military, so I can give, and then I got for more education because of the military, because of the GIPL, but they pay for my master's degree. And so I may have some nuggets and gems to give to your audience as far as options there. And I tell anybody, oh, college is not for me. I say, hey, do at least 1 year. You may like it. You might find, oh, I can really do this. Or if you don't stay, but at least give it the first year.
So true. Yes, so true.
Because you never know what could, inspire or spark you on the inside. I was like, just do just a year and just try it out. So
I agree with you. So true. So true. Thank you.
No problem. We're going to wrap things up here. Sit tight after the show. Everybody, this is Camille Essex. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. We're going to be on sabbatical next week because you know why? I need a break too. We'll be back the following week and we'll keep things going. Go to my website at CamilleEssex.com. Stay in loop there. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you on the next one. Y'all be blessed. Be safe. Have a good week. See you later. Bye.